Okay. Greetings everybody. I'd like to say welcome back to the landscape. I am in the landscape, but clearly I'm sat in my car. I'm sat in my car because the forecast rain has arrived. I did all right though. I did manage to get out in a brief spell and make the most of it, but now it's persistent drizzle and it's forecast to do this for quite some time. So I left my last location, drove out here, nice view, had something to eat, had something to drink. And I was just kind of twiddling my thumbs, thinking, well, what do I do now? But fortunately, I keep a list of video ideas. And a little while ago, I'll put the video number over here somewhere. I did a video about landscape photography from the car through the rain. And the principle was I had rain or water running down the windshield and I was trying to create images through the rain, using that water to my advantage to blur the scene and to, I guess, introduce creativity, but a little bit of variety. It's something different. But also, and I've said this before on this channel, if I've traveled somewhere to go out and do photography, then obviously I look at the forecast in advance, but the forecast is just that, it's a forecast. Sometimes when I get to where I'm going to go, the forecast isn't quite what I'd imagined or quite what was reported, and I end up like this. That's just the way of the world. It would be very easy to turn around and go home. I'm not going to do that. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use an idea that was shared with me in one of the comments from that last video of trying to create a landscape photography image through the rain. For that previous video, I focused on the raindrops and allowed the land to be blurry and indistinct. But somebody suggested, well, why don't I do it the other way around? Actually focus on the landscape rather than the raindrops and see what sort of different effect you get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Sigma fpL. I'm going to put the camera into cine mode, video mode, and I'm going to do that through this camera. Now, in order for me to do that, I need to put it on manual focus, which it's on, which is good. And then I'm going to try that far focus, near focus idea with the camera in video mode to try and demonstrate the difference as to what can actually be achieved. Now, there is one sort of point to make. So there's not a lot of wind today, so I've actually got straight rivulets, is that a right word to use, of water that have run down the windshield. So you're going to have a pattern that's, vertical, top to bottom, bottom to top, depending on your philosophical standpoint on life. So just bear that in mind before I do this. So let's swap to cine mode on this camera and we shall see what we can get. So a quick note, for the purposes of this, I've put the aperture of this camera to f2.8. Done that very deliberately so that the depth of field, whether I focus on the distance or straight in front of me, is relatively narrow. I think that might actually help to increase the impact of the effect. I don't know, we'll use that as a starting point and we'll see how we get on. If we feel we need to change it, we can change it, but here we go. Right, so we're going to swap now to the fpL. Okay, you're now in fpL mode. It sounds a little bit different. It's because I'm actually using the onboard mic. What I'm trying to do is focus on the fells beyond. There you go, you can see raindrops. And if I keep focus coming, there's the actual windshield. Okay, so now you can see the impact of both. That's on the windshield, and then that's on the land. So let's find a view where there's something in it, which might end up being a bit of a challenge because it really is bucketing it down out there. So, alright, so there's a view with something in it. You've got, this is U Barrow, or the side of U Barrow here, the road and everything else that's around it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull the focus so it's more on the windshield. I'm not sure that necessarily works particularly, mainly because of these, I don't know what this is, probably insects or something stuck to the windshield, but it creates distracting lines. The more I pull it back, the more indistinct they become. So I think something like that is probably most effective, which is probably in between the two. If I go back to focusing on the distance, oops, that's slightly too far. I think you lose that idea of rain. There, I think you keep that idea of rain. In fact, there's a car just going through the scene. Oh, it hasn't got any lights on. Oh, there we go. No, I don't think the car adds anything to it. I don't think the road adds anything to the scene either. But let me just zoom in a wee bit. And we'll do the same again. Let's just focus on the landmass. So that's the side of U Barrow going down into the lake. And we'll do the same thing again. We'll go all the way back until we can see raindrops on the windshield. And again, look, we've got these, whatever these are, these items. So I'm now just going to pull that back a little bit until they're not quite so noticeable. Something like that. Now you can just about make out the line of U Barrow, only just though, but it is there. Ooh, there's a car, and followed by another one, which is in fact a postman. Yeah, I think somewhere in between works the best. I mean, that's never going to win any awards, but that wasn't the point of doing this. The point of doing this was to experiment and try an idea. And I'm very glad I had that idea. So that's quite interesting actually, because I was sort of expecting the water to really help me by making the scene look more indistinct. But the reality is that it doesn't. I mean, maybe if I actually had, let's say the rain was blowing towards me and I had, you know, droplets impacting, then maybe yes. But because I've just got almost like a sheet of water, because it's drizzling and not a lot of wind, that's what's producing what I'm seeing. And as I've been speaking to you, U-Barrow has actually started to come or become a lot more visible. So I'm going to swap back to the fpL. So if you could imagine that as a square, come off here a bit maybe. I don't know, maybe that works. Now that U-Barrow is a bit more prevalent. You see, I just think that looks like a misty, murky image. Whereas that says more about the rain on the windshield. In between, I think that really works. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap to stills. I'm going to put the camera in 1:1. I'm not going to play with the focus, I'm going to leave the focus as it is. And I'm just going to take an image. Where's the histogram? Come on, where are you? There you are. So I'll employ all the usual things. I'll make sure the camera's level, I'll make sure the histogram looks good, which it does. Still at f2.8. Right, I wonder if it works on the wider view. So let's swap back to fpL. Right, so let's employ exactly the same principle that we did just now. So let's go near. There's the windshield. You can quite clearly, and again we've got these, whatever these items are. And if we go back the other way and do that, not sure. So let's go back to where those little lines were. There they are. And we'll just keep going until they become indistinct. And in terms of a creative effect, I think that's much, much more powerful. So much so, I'm going to go into, I think I'll do 16:9 because the camera does natively do, when it shoots video, it's 16:9. Again, I'm not going to play with the focus. I'm going to leave the focus alone. So we're f2.8. Just going to brighten the image ever so slightly. Okay. Make sure we're straight. It's not going to win any awards, but it's certainly an interesting thing to do. And like I said, I wouldn't have figured that a focus point somewhere between my windshield and the land would actually be the way to go. Here we are. Learn something new every day, don't you? It's been interesting and not quite what I expected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer, and as the weather conditions change, and just see whether, what would be really nice would be a little bit more detail at the end of the valley, because at the minute it's just almost a complete whiteout with the rain. But I'm just going to leave it a few minutes and see whether it gets it gets any better, or whether it just gets some definition down the bottom end, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Just remains for me to thank you very much for watching. Hope it's been an interesting exercise, especially being able to sort of see what's going on and then judge the result. And yeah, if you like landscape photography, that's what my channel is all about. So please do consider becoming a subscriber if you're not already. If you are, then you have my thanks. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like. It does help the content, help the channel, just helps more people to see it and, you know, get the ideas out there, get more comments and suggestions and so forth, and, you know, really get a conversation going. So until we're next out in the landscape, hopefully when it's not persisting down with rain, thank you very much. Take care, stay safe and stay well. See you on the next one. Cheerio for now. Come on, rain. Ease up on me.